Hi everyone, and welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
Yesterday, we introduced a problem facing the city of Venice in Italy.
Venice was built in the 5th century when platforms were placed on top of wooden beams.
That makes the city unique, as it's kind of like a floating city on many islands and with canals instead of roads.
However, these beams sink slightly into the ground each year.
This means the city often floods, but the clever engineers of Venice have been able to make sure that the city has always been able to survive.
However, climate change is causing problems that Venice can't handle.
Sea levels in the area are rising, and experts say they may rise by 50 centimeters by the year 2100.
This will mean that much of Venice will be underwater and could disappear entirely.
Which would be absolutely terrible. Now, in day 2 of the article, we'll find out what is being done about this problem.
First, we need to find out about yet another problem Venice has to deal with.
Another problem?
Mm-hmm.
This city is really having a hard time.
Right.
Let's read through the article and find out more.
Reading.
The City of Venice. A sinking ship? In recent years, Venetians have had to worry about rising sea levels. However, that isn't the only threat to the city's survival. Tourism is also causing trouble. For one thing, large cruise ships poison the local environment. For another, smaller tourist boats are damaging the city's foundations. This is because Venice's canals were built for rowboats, not the motor-powered vehicles that are common today. As a result, the United Nations is thinking about putting Venice on its list of endangered places. Doing so would limit tourism to the city. The people of Venice want to make a change, so they are standing up for themselves. In 2016, they used fishing boats to stop big tourist ships from entering the city's lagoon. More recently, people took over empty vacation homes and marched through the city to speak out against climate change. They were right to do so. Even now, extreme measures need to be taken to keep Italy's famous floating city above the waves.
So, as Elsie said, we're starting this part of the article with another one of Venice's problems. The article says, in recent years, Venetians have had to worry about rising sea levels.
最近这几年呢，威尼斯人一直在担心 rising sea levels， 也就是海平面的上升问题。The article continues, however, that isn't the only threat to the city's survival.
Yesterday, we talked about the word survive. Venice was able to survive. Survive is a verb that means to keep on living or existing, even though this isn't easy. Now, the word we saw in that sentence, survival, is the noun form of the word survive. So it's the state or the fact of something's ability to keep existing. It kind of means the same thing as life or living in many cases. Here's an example of how we can use it. Survival in the desert isn't easy due to the high temperatures and lack of water.
在前一天的文章当中，我们学到了 survive 这个动词形式，代表生存、幸存。那今天我们看到它的名词了，念作 survival， 代表存续、生存。So what is this other problem?
The article says tourism is also causing trouble. So tourism is the business or the industry of having visitors from other cities or countries come to a place. So visitors can also be called tourists. So tourism includes everything involved with this idea of visiting a place. The planes and the ships that come there, the hotels that are there that people stay in, all the other businesses that are set up to give visitors food and souvenirs and so on, or to show them around the city and things like that. For some countries, tourism is very important, and these places make a lot of money from visitors, such as in this example. The island of Bali in Indonesia is famous for its tourism.
Tourism 这个名词代表旅游业、观光业，那这对很多国家来说是很重要的一个产业。那我们要吸引游客进来国家里面，游客、观光客我们叫做 tourist。那还有啊，游客喜欢的景点，我们说观光景点叫做 tourist attractions。那另外呢，文章说到，威尼斯也因为观光业而造成问题。I bet lots of people visit Venice, but why does this cause problems?
Well, the article says, for one thing, large cruise ships poison the local environment. A cruise ship is a very large ship that takes people to places on trips for pleasure. These ships have restaurants and movie theatres and comfortable rooms, and they tend to visit places that tourists want to see. I guess we could say they poison the local environment either by just bringing dirty water with them, or people throwing garbage, or maybe some of the fuel and oil that the ships use gets into Venice's water. We're not quite sure. But in that sentence, we also use the phrase for one thing. That's how we began it. And we use this phrase when we're making a written list of things, not like a bullet point list, but an actual written list of sentences. And we use for one thing to introduce the first item. And it also tells us that there are more things to come.
今天的英文练功房呢，我们要讲到的就是 for one thing 跟 for another 或是 for another thing 的用法。那这样的句型呢，它用来引出某件事情的理由。第一个原因啊，会用 for one thing 来带出，之后再搭配使用 for another 或是 for another thing。那两者后面都要接完整的句子哦。两句之中啊，你可以用句点、分号或者是用 and 来连接。For example, nowadays, students in Taiwan are under a lot of pressure. 现在台湾的学生们有很大的压力。For one thing, they have to live up to their parents' expectations, and for another, they have to prepare themselves for the competitive job market. 也就是说啊，一方面要符合爸妈的期望，一方面要准备好迎接竞争激烈的职场。
Yes, as Elsie just explained, the phrase for one thing is generally followed by for another or for another thing, and we use this to introduce the next item on the list. And we do this in the next sentence of the article as well, and we see that for another, smaller tourist boats are damaging the city's foundations. Something's foundations are what it is built on. So think of a house. A house has a lot of stuff under the ground to help support it, hold up its weight in its roof, and so on. Larger buildings like department stores have even bigger and stronger foundations. Venice's foundations are the beams and platforms we spoke about in day one.
这边呢讲到观光业也对威尼斯造成问题，然后我们也使用了刚刚讲到的 for one thing 跟 for another thing 的句型来列举观光行为所带来的问题，像是大型游艇毒害当地环境，还有就是小型的观光船只呢会破坏这边的 foundation， 也就是地基。
Now we can see the reason why small boats are bad for Venice in the next sentence. The article says, this is because Venice's canals were built for rowboats, not the motor-powered vehicles that are common today. Now, we did mention the canals of Venice in our introduction, and they are one of the city's most famous sites, so let's explain the word properly. A canal is a river or stream made by humans, usually by digging an area of land away. Of course, in Venice, the canals were made by creating all of these platform islands. Canals are often built to help transport goods.
Canal 就是所谓的运河，那威尼斯的运河呢，它是适合划船的，但是不适合 motor-powered vehicles， 也就是以马达为动力的船只。So we've seen all these problems that Venice has, but what's being done about them?
Well, the article says, as a result, the United Nations is thinking about putting Venice on its list of endangered places.The phrase as a result means this happened because of what we just mentioned. It's used to connect up a cause and an effect in two sentences.
所以前面你必须要先有原因，后面才可以用 as a result 带出结果。那因为这些问题啊， The United Nations 也就是联合国正考虑将威尼斯列为 endangered place.The
word endangered is often used to talk about animals. It means they are at risk of becoming extinct, which means disappearing entirely. Places can be endangered too. They're in danger of disappearing. Think of things like the Great Barrier Reef near Australia or the Amazon rainforest in South America.These are, or certainly should be called, endangered places because human activity is causing them to disappear. Here's another example of how we can use it. There are several kinds of rhino, but all of them are endangered.Endangered
这个形容词代表濒临危险的或是快要绝种的，那通常后面是接动物。那这个字呢，你可以从中间看出它有一个 danger， 前面加上 en， 后面加上 ed， 就可以组成这个字 endangered。Okay, so what would making Venice an endangered place mean?
According to the article, doing so would limit tourism to the city.If you limit something, you reduce it, and it kind of makes it smaller, generally by using some kind of rule or law. Think about road laws. They limit your speed and say you can only drive this fast in cities or this fast on the highway. Limiting tourism means there would be a maximum number of people or maybe ships that can visit Venice each year. Here's another example you'll often see in Taiwan.Many all-you-can-eat hot pot restaurants limit the time people can spend there to 2 hours.
Limit 这个动词代表限制，所以 limit the time 就是限制它的时间。那回到文章，我们说这样一来，这样的方式会限制当地的观光业。Maybe they'll limit the number of tourists.
That's probably one of the ways they'll do it. So you might have to apply to go there, like people apply to go to Tibet or something like that.Okay, well, that's what the UN might do, but what about the Venetians themselves? Our article says the people of Venice want to make a change, so they are standing up for themselves. To stand up for someone or something means to say or do something when that person or thing is being threatened. You do something to protect and defend them.We say standing up for themselves when you're protecting yourself. So the Venetians aren't waiting for the UN to save them. They're doing things to save themselves.
Stand up for somebody or stand up for something 代表就是捍卫、保卫，为某人、某事挺身而出的意思。威尼斯人他也想要改变，所以他们将为自己挺身而出。What are they doing?The
article says, in 2016, they used fishing boats to stop big tourist ships from entering the city's lagoon. Remember, we explained the word lagoon yesterday.
2016年呢，他们利用渔船阻挡大型观光船只进到西湖里面。That was a few years ago.But the people are still fighting. We see that more recently, people took over empty vacation homes and marched through the city to speak out against climate change.
So we have a few things to look at in this sentence. To take over something means to take control of a place. So the homes were empty, but the locals took over them or took them over. They moved in and said, these are our homes now.Another example could be an army takes over a country.
Take over 就是占领或占据啦。And these homes were empty when they were taken over.
Yes, and the word empty means that something has nothing inside it. An empty bottle has no liquid, and an empty home has no one living or staying there. Here's another example. There are a few empty cups in the sink. Someone should wash them.Empty
这个形容词呢代表空的，所以最近呢威尼斯人会占据空的度假房屋。They didn't just take over empty homes though.
No, the Venetians marched through the city. To march is to walk in an organized way like an army. You march somewhere with purpose, and often with a bit of kind of force and energy as well, like you're going somewhere to get something done.We often talk about protesters marching, like what's been happening in Hong Kong for this last half year. Here's another example. The people marched through the streets, calling for the president to resign.
March 这个字当我们看到它的字首是大写的 M 的时候，我们会想到它是3月份的意思。不过呢，这边也是一个比较深的意思。March 可以当动词，代表示为游行。In this case, they were marching to speak out against climate change.
That's right. To speak out against something is to say, this is bad. I don't like it. I want it changed. And you speak out against something to show the problems it has and also to make other people pay attention and become aware of these problems.To
speak out against something 代表是坚定而公开的表明你反对某事物的意见。那威尼斯人呢，他们也游行，公开表示反对造成气候变迁的问题。The article also says they were right to do so.Okay,
so we're basically saying, something needs to be done. There was a big problem with Venice, and it was the right thing to do for the people to march, to protest, to speak out about all these problems, and so on. And something definitely has to be done, as the article finishes by saying, even now, extreme measures need to be taken to keep Italy's famous floating city above the waves.So extreme measures means not just doing small things, it means doing big things, making very big changes that might even make some people unhappy, but they're necessary. They need to be done no matter how big the changes are.
Extreme 这个形容词呢代表极端的，那 measures 代表措施手段，所以这两个单字extreme measures 指的是极端手段，也就是万不得已你才使出的办法。那回到文章，我们说到极端手段呢已经必须被执行，这样子才能够让这个有名的漂浮城市继续在大海之上。So that Venice won't be sinking anymore.
Yes, we don't want Venice to sink under the waves. It's a beautiful city that many people want to see. It's got a lot of history, famous art, amazing buildings, and so on. So we definitely want to keep it around. Well, that brings us to the end of this 2-day article. So now it's time for today's For You Chat
question.For You Chat.
The question is related to one of the things the UN was thinking of to help Venice. Do you think tourism to endangered places should be allowed? Why or why not?
I don't think it should be allowed because when I see some foreigners litter in our country, I get so angry.There
is that, but if some of these endangered places are special or beautiful, shouldn't people be allowed to visit them?
Of course, but then there should be some rules.Rules
I agree with, yes, because the thing is, if there's a fantastic place and the government says, no one can visit, you know someone will pay enough money to get somebody else to take them there anyway.
Yes.
So there'll be ways around it, so you might as well kind of make rules that don't stop everyone. I kind of think of Boracay.In the Philippines.
Yes. They just reopened.
That's right. And I'm really hoping it's a much better place. And I'd love to go back there because I was lucky enough to go about 7 years ago. It was beautiful. But yes, Boracay, the Philippines government closed the whole island to tourism for like 9 months, just so they could clean up.
Yeah.
And I think if they limit guests, then hopefully it means they won't have to do that again to deal with all the pollution and, like you said, litter problems.
And my friend went there just last month.
Wow.
And she told me it's very different from before.
I'm sure it must be.
It's a lot cleaner.
Quieter, maybe?
Quieter. And fewer tourists.
That's probably for the best. It was pretty crowded with tourists. I remember going down to Kunding many years ago, and there was a beach with amazing quality sand. And the sand was so special that no one was allowed to go on that beach. It was like a protected beach. So in that case, like, people could see the beach, they could take photos of it, they could look at it, but they just couldn't go and stand on it and lie on it. So maybe that's another way to look at it. Like, say you can see this place, maybe we can take you on a trip near it, but like, you can't kind of live there and stay there and build hotels there and all those kind of things that cause the long-term damage.
Yeah, this is one of the ways that we can protect our beaches, our environment.
Yeah, so I think we should allow it, but I think limiting it and protecting the areas is probably the best idea. Because if you stop it completely, someone will just break the law to go there, and that could be worse.
I agree with you.
All right, well, that is the end of our article. Thanks for listening, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The City of Venice. A sinking ship? In recent years, Venetians have had to worry about rising sea levels. However, that isn't the only threat to the city's survival. Tourism is also causing trouble. For one thing, large cruise ships poison the local environment. For another, smaller tourist boats are damaging the city's foundations. This is because Venice's canals were built for rowboats, not the motor-powered vehicles that are common today. As a result, the United Nations is thinking about putting Venice on its list of endangered places. Doing so would limit tourism to the city. The people of Venice want to make a change, so they are standing up for themselves. In 2016, they used fishing boats to stop big tourist ships from entering the city's lagoon. More recently, people took over empty vacation homes and marched through the city to speak out against climate change. They were right to do so. Even now, extreme measures need to be taken to keep Italy's famous floating city above the waves.
Vocabulary Review. Survival. This language's survival depends on the government's efforts to protect it. Tourism. New hotels were built near the beach as tourism in the area increased. Endangered. This turtle is endangered, and it's thought that its population is 80% smaller than it once was. Limit. Jonathan enjoys eating chocolate bars, but he limits himself to no more than 2 per week. Empty. The desert was completely empty, with no people or houses in sight. March. Thousands of people marched in the streets to protest the government's recent failures.
智慧小补帖
Cruise ship. Foundation. Canal.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net English4u.net